Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Media Matters for Anfield Index. It was anything but uneventful on Saturday at Anfield. A 2-2 draw played out between Liverpool and Fulham. Refs, red cards, penalties, decisions, all sorts of things. The return of a hero, injuries, there is a million and one things to discuss. And here to join me as ever is the renowned and the respected David Lynch. It's an interesting one as I'm asking you this, David, because I don't know if it's because Chelsea have won, people have got a little bit nervous all of a sudden. But just as it sits here right now, we should still, there's a lot of positives at the moment, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. The position is really good. I mean, ultimately, Chelsea kind of breathing down Liverpool's necks is a bit more of a result of that game being called off and Liverpool having that game in hand. So, it feels like the gap has gone from 9 points to 2 in kind of a blink of an eye. And the fact that Liverpool haven't won the last 2 games, I get, it's throwing a bit of focus on that. And maybe people are getting a bit nervy, but I still think there are an overwhelming amount of positives and incredibly, you're saying that after a 2-2 draw at home to Fulham as well. I thought, an unbelievable amount of positives from that game as well. I think obviously Liverpool need to win the next game. I think they need to get back to winning ways ASAP. But I just think in the context and the challenges they've faced over the last 2 games, the position they find themselves in is still pretty unbelievable, really.
Yeah, there is a lot to be positive about. But like you said, winning ways need to come back and they need to come back quickly. And normally I'll go straight into the performance with you, but I did just want to share what Arne Slot said after the game, because I mean, a million tactical changes, a million things going on. So just in case you did miss it, people, here's what Arne Slot said pretty much straight after the
Couldn't
game.
have asked for more. But of course not with the result, because if you drop points in a home game against Fulham, that's definitely not what you expect and what you want. But yeah, being 2 times a goal down, so many things go against you, except for one thing, that is our players and our fans. That was outstanding today. Couldn't have asked for.
Interesting. I mean, I'm still a swither by the hour. 2 points dropped or 1 point gained for you?
Definitely a point gained. I think, Slot alludes to it there, kind of the challenges that Liverpool face in the game. I mean, you're 1-0 down after 11 minutes, conceded a pretty poor goal, to be honest. Well finished, but poor from Liverpool's perspective. And then to lose a man 6 minutes later, you just think there's absolutely no way Liverpool are getting anything out of this against a very good Fulham side. And so, to overcome those challenges and be the better side as well in the end. I mean, Liverpool comfortably win the expected goals, don't they? They have more shots, they dominate possession.
Yeah.
And to do that to a Fulham side that has got a lot of quality over, 70 odd minutes, probably closer to 80 really with all the added time. I kind of left feeling that it was a point gained from a difficult situation, and also almost feeling more confident about Liverpool's title chances after it, because the performance with 10 men was just so good and so dominant. And it's not what I expected once Robertson gets his marching orders. Thought it was going to be it was a difficult afternoon, but, I didn't think there would be so many positives to seize to. And I can understand fully why Slot was kind of pleased with what he saw at full time, because, like I say, it's kind of almost more evidence that this side is going to be, should be the title favourites and is going to be able to go all the way, because if you can perform like that with a man down, then it says a lot about how you're going to perform generally with 11 men. And yeah, Liverpool were absolutely outstanding, I thought, in the way they coped with it. And also credit to the manager as well for the way he worked that. Obviously, the players did the job and dominated the game a man down. But I thought his tactical tweaks as well were a big part of that. So it's a real collective effort, plus throwing the fans that you mentioned there as well, who again I thought were absolutely outstanding. The atmosphere at Anfield this season has been fantastic, barring a couple of maybe early games. So it all came together again, and just unfortunately couldn't get the win really, because they deserved it. But you take a point, you move on, try and keep those performances going now, and try and get on another winning run.
Yeah, absolutely. And probably from the talking points, there is only really one place to start, isn't there? That Robbo red card. And it's interesting because I'll be honest, I was in the stadium and I kind of thought, yeah, he's off, and you were waiting, and there's the VAR deliberation. You were a little bit like, what's going on? And then even late Saturday night, you saw the match of the day discuss it, and then it's come up in the VAR. So we just listened to what match of the day said on Saturday night.
The red card. Didn't seem to complain too much about it after the game, but I found it an extraordinary decision.
If we listen to the whistle, it comes after Jimenez's chance.
He allows him the advantage.
Yeah, so he allows him the advantage, and Jimenez doesn't take advantage of that. And then he pulls it back for the foul on Wilson.
Wilson, they think he's going to get the ball. Now, there's zero chance that Harry Wilson is going to get on the end of that.
I'm not sure there's zero. He might, maybe he gets it.
You see how hard he hits it. He's never going to get across there. Obviously, the decision was on the foul on Wilson, but it's just a mess.
So there's that. I know match of the day, it was quite topical, David. And then I know you'll know Dale Johnson and the VAR reviews, and the VAR pretty much said, on that review, Robertson's red card was wrong. I mean, I was a bit, say, wrong of the ball, a bit unsure. I didn't realise the denial of the goal-scoring opportunity, it's got to be for Harry Wilson almost, isn't it, in the way the law comprehends. So by that nature, surely now we're looking back, that's a wrong red card, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you. When I was sat in the ground and I kind of saw the brief replay, you kind of get a look on the screen next to us. Didn't think twice about it, really. Just sort of thought that is he's tripped him up, his last man. That looks like the right decision, really. And then, as you say, kind of Gary Lineker rightly points out, actually, well, it's all about whether Wilson can get the ball, and he's nowhere near. And also, he pokes it kind of away from goal, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So, it's the wrong. It wasn't a red card. So, and it's a funny one because you usually feel outraged in the moment these things happen. But I was very accepting at the time, and then, they've taken a look back, and it's an incorrect decision. And I think if Dale Johnson is right in that, then I guess that's kind of, you have a good feeling that the PGMOL themselves kind of accept that it's an incorrect decision as well. So, makes it really, really, even more disappointing, doesn't it? Because if Liverpool had got away with that one, and I say get away with it, if the correct decision had been made and that moment doesn't lead to a red card, then they probably definitely go on to go and win that game, don't they? When you think of how they played after that. So, extremely frustrating, really. And I guess Liverpool have got a case now to appeal the red card and appeal the match ban, but I don't think they probably will. I don't think there was any chance of Robbo featuring in this game at Southampton anyway, so I doubt that they're going to do that. But it just adds to that feeling of frustration, really. And Liverpool have been unlucky with one there. It's affected the outcome of the game, hasn't it? So very, very frustrating, really, and a strange one that we didn't feel that at the time. But in hindsight, it was the incorrect decision, really, and it's really cost Liverpool.
Yeah, no two ways about it. And Robbo has naturally been the focus, and I kind of understand it a bit because people have looked, and we can't hide it. We talked in the summer and all the way through, we would have liked a left back or a left-sided defender. We've talked about that before. Robbo has been on the docket recently, and it's not been a great period. I don't think it's unrealistic to say that. In his last 4 games, Andy Robertson's now got 2 penalties and a red card on his docket. Do you just think he's kind of suffering a bit of confidence or anything more at all at the moment with his sort of overall recent performances?
I just think it's legs. I really do. I think it's, we've got a version of Robertson now that can't play every game. And if he does, you start to see real cracks in his performances, unfortunately. It just shows how much Liverpool really need to get Tsimikas back for me. I think when Robertson's best performance, as I've said many times, I don't think it's any coincidence. It came in that Aston Villa game after he'd had a couple of games off. And then, that was kind of, it kind of opened up that was clearly the best way to use him this season. And then as soon as that happened, Tsimikas turns his ankle in training, and then, you're back to having just that one left back who's got to get through an awful lot of work. So, it's a tricky one, really. They just need Tsimikas back for me. I think you can get enough out of Robertson this season. I don't think it's going to be a disastrous showing every time he takes to the pitch, but I think he's got to be managed, and that's been difficult at the moment, unfortunately. And we must also say, by the way, that I think one of those penalties was very, very soft. And one was outside the box, basically, or could have not been given. One was very soft. And then the red card wasn't a red card. So, maybe he's been unlucky as much as anything. But I accept he's not playing as well as he can. But I think it's important that he gets Tsimikas back soon, because I think you'll see an improvement in Robertson's performances, and also Tsimikas is a really good option at left back as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That will be important. Fingers crossed on that. And we'll discuss injuries later on. I mean, I do want to get back to positives, because there were a lot of things to like. I was going to ask, who was man of the match for you? Who did you plump for as the best performer on the day? Because there were a few candidates, to be fair.
Yeah, I thought I went for Gravenberch personally. I just thought that the fact he'd moved into that kind of centre-back role and was just absolutely flawless there, really made him kind of the outstanding player. And again, that's, you got to give credit to the manager for that, for coming up with that idea, because it gave Liverpool that ability to progress the ball in the way that Gravenberch does, by dribbling from time to time. It gave Fulham something else to think about, but he's also got that real defensive presence of mind, so he looked really natural there. And I think the fact he was out of position but played it so well, for me, was what made him my man of the match. But he was just brilliant in every aspect, and when he moved back into midfield, he was great again there as well. So yeah, he's just been the star of the season, really, hasn't he? So far, he's been absolutely fantastic, and the fact he can do it in another position, I think, just says a lot about him.
Yeah, I thought he was absolutely brilliant in a sort of weird centre-back, inverted midfield, all the things they were all sort of covering as well. And we put another name up there. I thought one player who, he's had his critics, Dominic Szoboszlai, recently, but he absolutely ran his nuts off, didn't he, on Saturday? He gave it literally everything and more that he possibly could.
Yeah, well, the fact is that he, for me, was one of the huge reasons that Liverpool didn't look like they were down a man, is because he was doing the running of two men in that central area. And obviously, him and Curtis Jones had kind of had to be left to their own devices, with Gravenberch stepping back. And I thought both of them did really well, but Szoboszlai in particular, sprinting about, covering so much ground, and not allowing Fulham at any point to look like they had a man advantage anywhere on the pitch. I thought he was fantastic in that. I mean, he also creates 3 chances as well, so he was contributing on the attacking side of things as well, which is being one of the main criticisms of him. So I think he's playing really well at the moment, to be honest. I'm a big fan, and I'm really, he's one of those that I think, supporters will kind of get on side with. Like I say, there have been doubters, but I think we'll get on side with him eventually, because there's no questioning how much he gives for the shirt and how much he, gets about and works his socks off for the team. So, it really, really important, the amount of running he did, because it like I say, it kind of just covered off that Fulham had that extra man. It didn't look like that, because Szoboszlai was everywhere. So, yeah, I thought he was incredible.
Yeah, it does seem in almost the last 5 games or so, whether he stepped it up, whatever's happened, but he's just looked more assured almost on the pitch as well. Maybe confidence is a part, who knows? But one player that, and I know you'll have seen this, there's been a lot of questions about Trent. Now, I want to be fair to Trent, because we're talking about an incredible footballer. We're talking about a player that's just come back from injury quite recently as well, hasn't he? And it's 10 men, it's almost his position. He did get quite a lot of stick for the performance on Saturday. And to be fair, I do think he could have done a bit better with the goal. What did you make of Trent's overall performance and sort of the question marks that are hovering around after that?
Yeah, I didn't think he was great, to be fair. I think some of the criticism is getting a bit over the top now, and I think the contract situation is contributing to that. I think people need to just kind of calm down a little bit around it. And, some of the things that are being said are just ridiculous, really, to be honest. For me, there's no question about how good he is. But I fully accept that he didn't put in a great performance at the weekend. I think he was kind of hamstrung a little bit by the fact that he is coming back, and I think he's trying to find his rhythm again. But I also think he was kind of being asked at times in the game to be a right back and a central midfielder simultaneously, not even just kind of inverting from time to time. He had to do both roles, and that was asking a lot of him physically. And I think he kind of struggled with that. But equally, I think there are some legitimate criticisms around the goals. I mean, the first one for me, he's really poor for that, because I could see it developing a mile away. Basically, it's before the ball even gets worked out to the left-hand side. You're thinking to Trent, change your body shape and start moving, because he's going to get a run on you. And he doesn't. He waits, and then he kind of jogs. And that gives Anthony Robinson all the time in the world to put in a really good cross, because he's a quality player. Just thought that was poor, and I think Slot will be all over him about that one, because there was just no need for it to happen, and he should have been a bit more alert, and also put in a bit more graft to get there and start sprinting earlier. So that was really frustrating. But like I say, I think some of the criticism has been over the top. And hopefully we do see him back to his best, because I don't think he's quite been there since he's come back yet.
No, fingers crossed it will change quite quickly, because he is such an important player. And positive, speaking of players coming back, who knew Diogo Jota was the best finisher, the best attacking midfielder, and the best replica of Steven Gerrard in a 20-minute cameo you could possibly see? He was brilliant, wasn't he, on Saturday?
Yeah, so good. Just kind of seemed to pop up everywhere, winning the ball, putting nutmegging people, and just going past people like so easily. He's massive, isn't he? It's as simple as that. I mean, we just think that he has to stay fit for the remainder of the season. It has to happen if Liverpool are going to go on and win top honours, because I just don't think, I thought Darwin did really well, by the way, when he came on.
Yeah.
But we know he's not a reliable source of goals. He's not as consistent as Jota is in that regard. And Jota just showed that with coming on and getting a goal and just causing havoc really for that last 20 minutes or so. So I guess it's a good thing really that they took the time with him and he was able to come in and play such a big role later on. And I think he will be ready for the games that are coming up now, which is great. So yeah, it's just massive. We could just do with nobody falling on him over the next few months. That would be nice. And if Liverpool can keep on top of kind of any muscle issues or anything like that, then happy days really, because he's absolutely vital. He's Liverpool's starting striker when he's fit. So great that he's back. Great he's got a goal, and hopefully that can help kick Liverpool on now.
It's fair to say as well, because we have got goals in the team, no doubt about it at all. But there's probably only Jota that scores it from that position, isn't there? The shift across, the twist, selling the keeper. That's a real finisher there.
Yeah, there's just that little bit of kind of scruffiness about it as well, in kind of the way he bundles past people. He's so good at kind of creating and generating his own shooting opportunities through things like that. I mean, we think about him as a kind of brilliant finisher, and he is. He's up there with Salah for me in terms of best finisher at the club, but it's his ability to generate shooting opportunities as well is perhaps kind of an underrated element of his game. And yeah, that kind of really summed it up, the way he scored that goal. And yeah, he looked delighted to be back as well. So I just think it's important now, just get a run of games in him. And if you can do that, then I think Liverpool's form will maybe start to steady out a bit, because he's massive, I think.
Yeah, the more goals back in the team, the better. No two ways about it. So yeah, fingers crossed he stays fit. It does feel massively, massively important. One person who didn't feel important on Saturday was Tony Harrington, because we've already talked about, obviously, the Robertson one. I'm going to be honest, this is me saying it on record so far. It's the worst reffing performance I can remember for some time at Anfield. He just looked, I thought, completely out his depth. And I know Virgil spoke about his inability to communicate afterwards. The Robertson one, we've discussed it. By the way, though, Issa Diop, that challenge on Robertson early doors, that was a red card one, wasn't it, really?
Well, I mean, do you know what? We didn't kind of speak about that with Robertson as well, that he was limping really badly in the aftermath of that challenge. And that I've no doubt that was a factor in him, kind of his miscontrol. And I know his form's not been fantastic this season, but, you take a knock like that, he was still running it off at the point that he gets sent off. So, Slot mentioned that as a factor, and we didn't talk about it. But I've no doubt it played a part, because it was a horrendous challenge, knee-high studs. I believe, reading the VAR review, that you think that's maybe on the line of, if they give a yellow on the pitch, then they're probably not going to overturn it. But I've seen them given, I'll say that. And again, it's just another element that could have gone in Liverpool's favour that didn't on the day. And, you're talking about being kind of unlucky, and they definitely were that wasn't a red card, because I've absolutely seen them given. And if he gives that on the field, there's absolutely zero chance that gets overturned. So yeah, pretty horrendous challenge, really. And I think if Liverpool had made more of it, I know Robertson does, in that it hurts him and he's down, but nobody's kind of having a pop about how bad the challenge is seemingly in the aftermath. And if they had, maybe they would have had a closer look at that one. So yeah, could easily have been a red. I think should have been, really.
Yeah, and that thing is, that's not even the worst challenge for me. I know John Peace just put there saying Big Baby Fame Fulham got away with a clear red foul on Grav. That one on Gravenberg, where literally Pereira sort of rakes down his Achilles when you see the replay. No one really made anything of that, except you could hear in the stadium, it was like, is no one going to do anything? I mean, that is a red card as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the fact is, we've seen red cards given for that this season. So again, absolutely. And again, it's something else that didn't go in Liverpool's favour, and you know, three or four big decisions really in the game that kind of could have gone the other way, and if they had, then Liverpool win the game comfortably. It's really, really frustrating, and it just feeds into the fact that, as you say, I thought the ref was absolutely terrible, and I don't like saying that at all. Always try and find, you know, reason why they've made the decision, or try and find you know, you try and see it from their perspective, but I just thought it was shocking throughout the game. His management of the game was poor. You know, yellow cards for non-yellow card fouls, just dishing them out really early. Completely didn't seem to have control of things, and then got several huge decisions completely wrong. So, yeah, you know, I don't buy into this idea he's fighting back because of David Coote, but I'm not sure I want to see Tony Harrington reffing at Anfield again anytime soon, because I thought it was a really, really poor refereeing performance. I try my best not to say that very often.
Yeah, and then I suppose the final one on his docket, he's kind of, it's the one I'm still like, I get it a little bit, but the more I see it, Joe Gomez, like Kenny Tete does just take him out and he's not got the ball. It almost looks like he's trying to go across towards the ball, but he does wipe Joe Gomez out there. Yeah,
again, that's one of those that are kind of, if he gets given on the field, it absolutely doesn't get overturned because it's clear as day. But I wouldn't, you know, the argument for not overturning is that, you know, they're not near the ball, so it's kind of not, and he's not challenging. He's trying to block the shot, isn't he? And Gomez almost runs into him, so it's a bit of a strange one. But absolutely, if he gives it, it's not getting overturned. So yeah, just a great example of something that could quite easily have gone in Liverpool's favour, but didn't on the day. And again, the referee is involved. So just frustrating, really, because it's so many incidents whereby this game could have swung in Liverpool's favour and didn't. So, yeah, it's unfortunate that one didn't get given.
Yeah, it's a point well earned. No thanks to Tony Harrington at all. And we'll probably leave it there mostly for the Fulham game. The only other thing I did want to ask you, I know this was literally on your Substack the other day, literally the Cody Gakpo piece, which is quite interesting. I hadn't really clocked it. I thought Gakpo's been in good form, but I know you've written about this. 7 goals in his last 10 games, but also the key word I saw there as well, simplifying his roles. So for those who've not read it, what was kind of the premise of, obviously the goals are brilliant, but the simplification of Gakpo's role?
Yeah, just that the manager came in this summer and kind of said to him, look, I'm going to play you on that left-hand side. It's, you know, I don't want to see you in this kind of false 9 role. I don't need to use you on the right-hand side. Don't need to use you in central midfield. You are going to be a left winger for me and do all the things that I saw you doing when we faced each other in Holland, and cutting in off that left-hand side and using that unbelievably powerful shot. You know, use your power to bully wingers as you can. And that's what it's all about, really. And I think he's thriving on that basis. I mean, we saw a real dip in form for him in last season, which Jurgen Klopp kind of apologised for, didn't he? And took the blame for, because he felt it was because he used him in too many positions. And I just think Gakpo, as I say, he's just being asked to do the things that are most natural to him, which I think is a very slot thing, by the way. That seems to be what he always wants to do for his players, is make the game as simple as possible for them. He's done that for Gakpo, and as you say, 7 goals in 10 games. I think he's playing really, really well this season, and it's been extremely useful, actually, that he's come into this form of late, because Diaz's goals have dropped away a bit. And I don't think we should read too much into that, by the way. I think that's how a season works. Form ebbs and flows. You know, Diaz will come into a purple patch of scoring again at some point soon. I've no doubt about it. That you know, outside of Mo Salah scoring every week or providing an assist every week, you tend to have this kind of flow of form, and it comes and goes. So, you know, if you've got 2 high quality options on that left-hand side, which Liverpool do in Gakpo and Diaz, then, you know, at least one of them is likely to be in form at some point. So that's really, really helpful. And I think Gakpo's been absolutely brilliant this season, and he's turned into a really important player, and probably at the moment the man who should have the shirt on that left-hand side, I'd say.
Yeah, it's because Diaz started the season absolutely like a house on fire. It was brilliant. Everyone remembers that United game. There has been a dip recently. It almost feels like, is it essentially as long as Gakpo and Diaz combined go at the same rate as Mo Salah, that's what we're looking for, essentially, aren't we, from the flanks?
That's it, exactly. They've got to kind of just job share that and get the goals at a Salah level, which is kind of ridiculous that between the two of them have to do that. But yeah, that's exactly it. You don't need another Mo Salah on that side if you've got 2 lads who can bang goals in at, you know, similar rate between themselves. So that's the job they've got to do. And as I say, you want to see Diaz coming back into the goals, and I'm sure that will happen soon. But in the meantime, Gakpo smashing them in. So happy days for Liverpool and for Arne Slot.
Yeah, as long as that form maintains. You forget the goals he's got recently, like City, Real Madrid. There's been a lot of big ones, like there was on Saturday at the same time as well. I mean, it was a positive that players were back on Saturday. Naturally, Chiesa was on the bench, was brilliant. Jota came on. We know what he did. The big one we've got to ask about, and obviously we're hoping, I don't know if there is an update, but is there anything around Tsimikas and Konate? Because they're the two, especially in defence, we need players back badly, don't we?
Yeah, I think Tsimikas, no chance for Southampton, I wouldn't expect. But, maybe sort of he's getting close now. I mean, we've seen him running on the grass now. He's still a little bit way to go. I don't know. Maybe I'd be kind of surprised if we see him this week, but maybe the week after that could be a chance that we start to see him then in full training. So hopefully. And then with Konate, we're still a little while off yet. I'm thinking kind of end of this month would be the bonus and the aim really that they're going for. And so I don't expect to see him in the next week or so, but they're both getting closer and obviously, important to get them back. But I would push against the idea as well. I think Tsimikas, it's important because you need to manage Robertson there. But I think with Konate, I think there's been a little bit of kind of talk that, Liverpool have conceded quite a few goals since he's been out. But, for me, the problems at Newcastle were kind of the injuries that they had with, that made them kind of put Quanta at right back. That was an issue. Individual error from Kelleher. And then this game on Saturday, you've got to take it for what it was, which is that Liverpool have a man sent off that early. So I don't put it all down to kind of missing Konate, although obviously it's quite important to get him back. But he's not quite there soon. But I still think, you looked at how Gomez played on Saturday. He's a really capable stand-in. And if Liverpool can keep 11 men on the pitch, then I'm sure there'll be better performances defensively coming up and they can keep clean sheets.
Yeah, will be interesting to see how these next few go. And we always ask about things that are sort of developing around January. It's almost, it feels like the circle of life. We're going back around. But the big talking point for any players this week, it's been back to Zubimendi. You've probably seen it, a few articles in the Times where saying he wouldn't be necessarily looking to go to City because he'd feel it would be almost a Rodri understudy. Also, there was the big one in the Times that followed up to say, Liverpool, City, Arsenal all on high alert because he is considering it there. So there is a bit of chatter around Zubimendi. Is it still heard anything more or still just like everyone else just waiting for any updates if there's a chance even?
Yeah, not heard anything kind of fresh as in, Liverpool are going to move from in January. But I've, been pretty consistent really in saying that if he did say he was willing to go in January, that Liverpool would be all over it. So, I still stand by that, and I think if he does give the nod that he's willing to move, then I think they would absolutely go for it. But it's a big if, and we don't kind of know if that's going to be the case. But yeah, Liverpool will be there ready to go if he does become available because they still want him as much as they did in the summer, and I still think there's a vacancy there in that midfield.
Yeah, if there's one player we know Arne Slot actually definitively wants, no two ways about it. It's Zubimendi, and as Red Jabby says there, we are. I do want to ask you that because we're in our so-called bad spell. Time to get out of this week. I've seen that trending. We're in a down spell. The gap's being shrunk. Is it more just circumstances of just the red card, the unlucky? I wouldn't really say it's a bad spell. It's just little things that have gone against us more than anything.
Yeah, that's it. I think there's mitigating circumstances, as I said, even around the Newcastle game with the the injuries that Liverpool had at that point as well, and maybe fatigue building up after a difficult run of fixtures. So, if this is the bad spell and you get a point out of 2 games, 2 points out of the 2 games, and you play that well with 10 men, then it's not really the worst thing in the world, is it? And like I say, I think it's important now that Liverpool get on another little winning run, so it doesn't turn into something worse than that. But there are huge mitigating circumstances there, and if Liverpool can keep, like I say, 11 men on the pitch for the next few games, and I'm sure they will go on and win a few of those. So, if this is as bad as it gets, then it's going to be a pretty good season for Liverpool, I'd say.
Yeah, and there's still a game in hand over rivals as well, so there's that in the mix. But before it's back to the league, I mean, this one's intriguing now, the Carabao Cup, Wednesday night. I know people, as you know, have got different opinions about the Carabao Cup. Probably the interesting news that came out, earlier today. There's a lot of youngsters not with the under-21s, isn't there? Like Dans, Norris, Narlo, Trey Ione not there as well. Are you expecting, bar like Carroll in the canteen, are you expecting a full sort of rotation for this, basically?
Yeah, I think maybe kind of even surprising amount of rotation for this one, in that it's going to be, a lot of youngsters involved and those fringe players who need the minutes. I just think Slot is going to be sending a very clear message here about kind of where this stands in terms of the priorities, really. And it is very low down. You've got those, if they do get through, they've got those semi-finals coming up, haven't they, in January, and that, really adds to the fixture list and makes it difficult. And I just don't think he feels that he can go at this competition with his best team and keep everyone fit and happy. So I think we're going to see an awful lot of rotation. I think we're going to see a lot of those youngsters being involved, quite a few from the start as well, to be honest.
Yeah, no doubts about it at all. I suppose, and as much as you mentioned rotation, and I know I sort of threw a glib comment in there, but you've still got players like Kwanzaa, Elliott, Endo, Morton, Chiesa, and maybe even he might want to give a few minutes here and there to the likes of Jota to get him up to freshness, or McAllister has had a week off. It's not going to be the bare bones. There will be senior stars there as well, won't there?
Yeah, definitely. I think McAllister will start. I think Jota will start as well. I expect that. I think Chiesa will start as well. So you've got the basis of a very good and experienced team in there, but it's just in certain other positions where they've got very little choice but to kind of turn to the kids. So at the back, I expect Nalo will get a start in central defence. At left back, you maybe see Norris get the nod there. Very interested to see what they do at right back. Actually, I'm not really sure if Isaac Mabai is fit. If he's not, not inside, I really don't have a clue what they're going to kind of do there, really, because it won't be Trent, and obviously I don't think they'll want Joe Gomez anywhere near this one with the situation they've got as centre half at the moment. So that's probably the most difficult position to pick for, really. But it's going to be a mix of kind of fringe players who need the minutes, the ones who are coming back to fitness, and then also a spattering of kids in certain positions, because Liverpool don't really have a choice unless you go really strong in this one, and then just Slot does not want to do that.
No, and maybe it's a good time to be playing Southampton because they're without a manager currently, so even a rotated team, although again people will see it differently, even winning this one, like you said, and getting a two-legged semi. I'm not sure there's too many keen on it, but we'll see what develops from Wednesday night. And the final thing, like we always do, people, we talk wider football. Now, even though we only took a point on Saturday, if you're honest, David, you'd have taken that weekend overall after we got that point. A lot of things went our way, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, there's just inconsistencies plaguing Liverpool's rivals for the title, isn't it? And so it didn't, that made it feel a lot better on the day as well. The fact that Arsenal slipped up, the same kickoff, and for them, no mitigating circumstances. They hadn't had a man sent off, no dodgy penalty calls or anything like that. It was just a poor performance, really, at home to Everton in a game that they should be winning. So. All that talk about them going on a kind of 10, 12 game winning run, and they can't seemingly win 2 in a row at the moment. It's crazy, really. It just shows there's real weaknesses around Liverpool, really, and it's more evidence that if Liverpool can just get on another winning run, they'll widen that gap again, because the sides below them are really struggling to put winning runs together. So that made it a lot better, really. And not even kind of mentioning Manchester City at the moment, because I just think they're gone. They're not in the mix at all. So it's not something for Liverpool to think about. But Arsenal dropping points, certainly that was really, really helpful.
I know, and I get it. You unequivocally rolled City out, and it feels funny. Like a lot of people seem to now adopt that after Sunday's result. That was the one. I mean, Arsenal, like you said, so they've got to get to hit 90 points. They've got to get 60 points off 22 remaining games. They've got to win 20 of their final 22. And by the way, they still visit Anfield as well. And there's a lot of tough fixtures in there. It's the one thing I did want to ask you, because I keep seeing this I don't know why so much Arsenal stuff pops up on my timeline. Their fans still really seem to believe in this, that it's possible. But Are you ruling them out yet?
I'm not ruling them out because I think, we need to see what Liverpool are doing now. How do they respond to this minor wobble or whatever? Can they get on another winning run soon? So that's important. So I'm not ruling them out yet because it could be a much lower points tally, and that gives Arsenal a little bit more chance to get there. But it's going to be difficult for them. And this talk that they're going to go and, as you say, go and win kind of 20 out of 22 games that they've got remaining is just ridiculous, really. It's not going to happen, and they're not good enough to do that. I just think they're finding it very, very hard to score goals at the moment outside of set pieces, and people have seemingly worked out how to defend set pieces against them as well, which is really, really hurting them. So they've dropped points in half of the games so far. So this idea that they're now going to go on this incredible winning run, I'm sure they are capable of winning quite a few in a row, but I'm struggling to see it happening at the moment. And even if they did, they've still got a huge mountain to climb to catch Liverpool. So I'm not writing them off completely just yet. I think I would have if Liverpool had beat Fulham, but it's Liverpool in a really, really good position in comparison to Arsenal, and they don't look like a massive threat at the moment.
Interesting. Robbo there says 86 points will win the league, which means Arsenal have still got to take 56 points in 22 games, which is a massive, massive ask as well. And the only other team I wanted to talk about, because Maresca's writing them off. I know you said last week you didn't really fancy them as title rivals, but they're on some run at the moment, Chelsea. They have got about 86,000 players in reserve at the same time. Do you think they could be in the mix?
Yeah, I think maybe they'll probably be kind of close. I was being a bit unfair to them last time when I said that there's absolutely no chance, but I still kind of think that, to be honest. I still struggle to see it because I just think they give up chances. They don't defend particularly well, and it's okay. You can keep outscoring that sometimes, and they are on a run of doing that. But there are going to be games where it just goes wrong for them, and they lack the experience as well. Just quite a few question marks around them. I mean, they are helped by essentially kind of playing one game a week, aren't they? Because they're just not taking the Conference League seriously. So that is kind of helpful to them, and maybe there's a little bit of a Brendan Rodgers Liverpool about them in terms of, a very open team that can score goals, is young and enthusiastic, and, is playing once a week basically. And that really helps them out. So maybe they can go closer than I was suggesting, but I still don't think Liverpool should be absolutely panicking about them and thinking they're going to overrun them. I think if Liverpool if Liverpool win the next 5 games and they get on one of those little winning runs again, I think you'll open up daylight to Chelsea yet again. And Liverpool are already as well. It looks like 2 points at the moment. It might be 5. We don't kind of know how that game in hand is going to go. But it's, Chelsea have played a game more. You've got to factor that in. They're not as close as it maybe looks. So, I just don't. I'm not massively sold on the fact that they're going to win the title this season. But they are clearly a very good team. And I think that game at Stamford Bridge late in the season is going to be a really, really tricky one as well.
It will, to be fair, it will be very bizarre if a team that signed 42 players over the last 3 windows doesn't have a striker and has Robert Sanchez in goal, wins the league. There's probably a lot of questions for other teams to answer in that regard. And I suppose we should always bring it back round to Liverpool. This period's really important. I mean, there's those 3 league games, disparaging the Southampton Carabao a little bit, but Spurs away, Leicester at home, Boxing Day, and then West Ham. You really want to see Liverpool taking sort of 9 points from those, don't you, to really sort of turn the screw on the others?
Yeah, that's it. And if they do that, I just think there will be drop points in there elsewhere from the rivals, and I think it will kind of just get them straight back on track, really. That's the aim, and I think they're definitely capable of doing that. I'm not, I'm much less concerned around performance level than I was prior to the Fulham game. I just thought that was so good. So. Yeah, it's just important now to just, there's been a few mitigating circumstances around these last few weeks, but now you just have to kind of put your foot down and start clocking up the wins again. And if you do get on one of those runs, then it's very difficult for any side to keep up with you because the consistency is not there below Liverpool at the moment. So yeah, that's the aim is to get back to winning ways and rack up a few in a row, really.
Yeah, fingers crossed as we talk next time. That'll be the case. We've beat, we don't know whether they want to beat Southampton, but let's hope we've definitely beaten Spurs at their stadium as well. So there we are, ladies and gents. We've covered it all. We will see what the next week brings. All it leaves me to say as ever is, David, for the time, the answers and the insight, it is massively appreciated.
Oh, thank you.
And ladies and gents, that was another Media Matters for Anfield Index.